of the African American Film Critics Association. And today we're talking with you about your spectacular performance in Colin in Black and White. Congratulations, brother. Did a great job.
Thank you for watching.
Absolutely. We're going to kick things off by introducing our facilitator today, Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta, Mercedes Springer also in Atlanta, Dana Abercrombie in New York, Ty in New York, Jill Monroe in Los Angeles, Nancy Green in
Baltimore. Orioles.
and Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Canada. And like I said,
wow.
we probably will have one or two others join us. But in the meantime, I'm going to let everybody do what they do so well, and I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, lovely people from across the world.
Nice to meet you. What's going on, Jaden? My name is Ty Cole with Rivers Media. First, I want to say you did an amazing job. I got to see the screener when you and Ava came to New York a few weeks back with Robin Roberts moderating, and to hear you both speak about the film was great. So I got to finish it, and my question for you is this. So one of the greatest lessons Viola Davis taught you was to stay humble, down to earth, and grounded. Now, here's a two-part question for you. First, what was the greatest lesson Kaepernick taught you while working on this project? And what's the greatest lesson you took away on your own after you wrapped filming?
Man, I feel like I learn a lot from like just being around people. So, Kaepernick, I don't think he ever told me, he told me things specifically, right? About, what it means to be Black in America, the lessons we've all learned. And the lessons he's learned through his experiences. But I think the thing that I took away most from his being and his personality was really to learn to be more confident in my skin. I feel like, especially as a biracial teen myself, it gets difficult to be able to really have confidence in your skin when you don't really know completely where your skin even comes from, because you have that duality of culture and of history. And so being around him really taught me to have a lot more love for myself, a lot more love for the other half of me that I didn't really get to learn a lot about growing up, and respect myself a little bit more,
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jaden.
Thank you.
Hi, Jaden. Mercedes here with She Critiques in Atlanta. You were probably, 13 or so when Kaepernick kneeled, probably. But what do you remember from that time of him kneeling? And what did you, when this came across your lap to do, what was going through your mind?
I was kind of confused. I was like, he's kneeling. That's really respectful. Like, man, he could be like running up and down the field, but no, he's kneeling and he's giving respect to people. I remember being really interested in the topic and even watching a few of his interviews. And I remember becoming even more bewildered, realizing that Colin had actually sat out the first couple of times. And then he was approached by a veteran who didn't completely agree with Colin. And the veteran told him, I find it disrespectful that, you're stomping on my people, everyone in the military. And Colin's response was, that is the opposite of what I want to do. I have friends in the military, family in the military. The last thing I want to do is disrespect you guys and the people who have given their lives for the country. But I still want to get my point across. How can I do that while still giving you guys my respect? And the veteran told him to kneel. That's what we do for fallen soldiers. We kneel. And so Colin chose to kneel because of that. And to me, I remember even at 13 being like, what's the problem? Where he's trying to fight for something bigger than himself. He's trying to be someone to shape change in this country, something that we've been talking about for 100, 200, 300 years. And we're withholding it because we don't like the method he's doing it in. To me, that was just confusing. But I think even then I wasn't completely aware of all of the social issues that surrounded what Colin was doing, but I still respected him for because I acknowledged that it took bravery to do something like that.
Thank you so much. You were phenomenal.
Thank you, Mercedes.
Hi, Jaden, Carolyn Forster, who's Happen and Carolyn Talks podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. So my question has a bit to do with how the show ends. So it ends with Colin writing a note to his younger self, to you, and he places the book in the bag that he's taking with him to his dream, which is becoming a quarterback. For you, what would be the note you would write to your older self?
Oh, I don't think I have that knowledge yet. I feel like I don't have the knowledge of where I'm going. I'm kind of at like a pivotal point in my life right now. You know, I'm a senior in high school, and you know, I'm trying to make a decision on what kind of school do I want to go to. Do I want to go to drama school and continue to pursue my acting career? And if it is an acting career, what kind of work do I want to do? Do I want to lean towards theater or stay with film and TV? Or do I just want to go to college and learn about philosophy and other things that interest me? So I feel like if I don't have the knowledge to say what I need in the future, if that makes sense, I'll just say hello, you know.
No, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Keep yourself up, I guess, looking forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique. And I just want to say your performance was great. And I really enjoyed this. And one of the things that I found very interesting was the connection with hair. We've talked about that in other interviews that we've done. And for you as a young Black man, how was it for you to deal with those issues of hair? Like, have you had that in your personal life, and where did you pull on that for the role?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had similar experiences to Colin, but with sort of the opposite. Yeah, similar situations to Colin. You know, even though I grew up in New York City, which is a stark contrast to, you know, a white community in California, I do have that melting pot. You know, I have that Dominican part of me all around me. I grew up in Harlem, so I grew up seeing brothers and sisters and seeing the hair and being involved in that side of the culture. But being a part of the acting industry since I was 3 has made me very self-conscious about how I look approaching a casting office, approaching producers and directors. How will my hair, how will my look affect how people look at me and what kind of roles I'm able to do? So for example, I had never braided my hair before. I never did anything to my hair up into working in the project. I'd never had the opportunity to show my hair off in any other kind of facet because the rest of the entertainment industry wasn't sure what that was. They didn't know how to typecast that and how to associate that. What does that mean for the character? And so I was afraid of changing my look and changing how people would approach me. And even still, like, I recently just got a haircut, and I wanted to do something completely different. But I ended up having to not do that because they were like, well, currently you're in contract with Amazon and they say you can't change your appearance. So it's like, I still don't even have a voice over my own hair even today. And so, yeah, I do understand that that struggle with yourself, with your image, with your personality, and also trying to be representable enough for another community and for someone else's expectations of you.
Wow, thank you. That's very interesting. I like that perspective. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, Dana Abercrombie from the Koalition. One of the things that really stood out to me in the whole film were we have the external racism, you're going outside and you're dealing with that every day, but then you come in at the home and there's the microaggressions with the parents and the little comments that they would say. My question is, how do you feel that when portraying Colin, he was able to kind of still love them, but still wanting them to understand what he is going through? It seemed like there was a miscommunication between their relationship where I felt there was love there, but at the same time, you still felt invisible.
I think that is a bigger metaphor for the relationship as a whole. You know, I feel like when people say black and white, they immediately think about, you know, the black community versus racist people. And I think the show is really trying to shed light to the gray areas in between. It doesn't have to be the person who poked you in the back because you took a cookie or because you wanted an apple, or the person who told you in the pool that I forgot what he says. You're one of the good guys. It can be the smaller things, and it can come from your family, and it can come from people who you're close to and your friends. In general, it is a lack of understanding of another community, and I think in the beginning, Colin is sort of very impressionable. He's innocent, and he's still trying to figure out where his feet need to go, you know, what direction he wants to walk in. And so, being that his parents are his only outlet, his only the only person he can trust, older person he can trust, he is sort of forced to ask for their attention and yearn for their support. And as he grows up and realizes that he has other outlets and other people to look up to, like Allen Iverson, and there's another path, there's another community, there's another culture, is when he's finally able to still love his parents, because, you know, he recognizes what they've done for him, but also be able to move forward as a Black man in a white world. And I think that's where that comes from. And I wanted to really incorporate that in Colin, because I spoke with him before shooting, and I asked him, I worked on another project with where I played an adopted child, and doing my research on that project, I learned a lot about the adoption agency as a whole in America, and the adoption system, and how each adopted child has their own experience. And so I wanted to know his personal experience with his parents. How deep did his love go for his parents, and was it and does it last today, and things along that nature. And he told me he loves his parents to the core. You know, he sees what they tried, he sees what they did, and you know, they tried their best with the tools that they had available to them. And I thought that was really sweet, because in my head I wasn't exactly ready to hear that. And so I wanted there to be love between them, for Colin to love them. And even as he gets older, you know, I think he gives his father a look at the very end, like, messed up, but I still love you, you know. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's so solemn and beautiful. Even through their iniquities, he's able to find their beauty.
Wonderful. It was a great job, a great portrayal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Jill Monroe, YouTube Stiletto Jill. So Jaden, after this experience talking with Colin, getting to experience that particular portion of his life, you mentioned being 13 when initially he started kneeling. Has it changed your feeling about the NFL, or do you have a relationship with football in the NFL at this time? And did this project change it?
I mean, when I was 13, I knew nothing about football. I think I didn't learn what a first down was until I was 16 or 15. I was not big into team sports growing up. I was more of a lonely child, playing games at home, and skateboarding, and doing, like, just non-team sports games. Working on the show, I was like, I had to be dedicated to the athletic side of this. That's what comes with your responsibility with this role. And so I was starting to watch a lot of baseball and football and basketball. And I started kind of falling in love with it. And my favorite had a favorite quarterback, and my favorite team was the Ravens. Go Baltimore. I think even then, I found it kind of crazy, like truly realizing the the power struggles are everywhere. They're even in the sports, and we watch our sports every day. You know, the fact that I think it's 80% of all players in the NFL are Black, but there's only what, 2, 3, you can count on your hand how many quarterbacks there are who are quarterbacks of color. And seeing that made me more passionate about the project, and even contributed more to what Colin was speaking. And then watching people like Roger Goodell, the person who fired Colin Kaepernick, to come out a year later, 2 years later, saying, "Oh, you know, I'm very grateful for the work that he did and the light that he shed on us, but you're still not going to give him his job," you know? So I don't think I truly respect all of the people behind the NFL. And I think there are a lot of other companies and corporations out there that I probably don't agree with their morals. But even still, I enjoy football as a sport.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jaden. This is Reggie Pond out of Chicago. And I agree with everyone else. The performance you put in was really good. It kept me watching you in all the scenes. My question is that in a way, I think that this piece of work brought light on the or redefined or talked to people about what it really is to be Black. And so what I mean by that is that it wasn't saying that this is the only Black, that there's this spectrum of Blackness. And how did you see that? Did you kind of see it as like, in one way, Colin had himself in a community and then not in a community, but still that he was Black? So can you speak to at all at that kind of dichotomy of what is Black, what isn't Black, and how this kind of expanded that lens in some way?
I think it goes back to that hair conversation. You know, we all wear it differently. We all wear our skin and our pride differently, and our color differently. I don't even know if I'm fully equipped to speak about something as complicated as that, when I truly, you know, even at 18, don't fully understand where I fit in my own color, in my own Blackness. And I think that only sheds more light to how difficult the conversation is, and how it's still a problem today. You know, if you have not one, not two, not three, but generation after generation of people dealing with similar instances of confusion and alienation, then it can't be, you know, a coincidence. It's not a one-off event. It's a repeated repercussions and repeated feelings and sentiments of alienation. But I do like how there are a lot of different kinds of color shown in the show. You know, we see Colin, we see someone who's a leader, who is who's controversial, but he's still a leader to a lot of people watching, and he's still an idol for a lot of people. We have people like Allen Iverson as well, who I would put up in that category. And then we have the smaller people who, you know, to some audiences might be insignificant, like Colin's friends, or you know, the people that he meets in the lobby at the hotel. But seeing those people admired and idolized by someone like Colin at a younger age is really it widens your eyes as a viewer, especially as a white viewer, because again, someone who you probably wouldn't give that much respect towards is someone who makes Colin's eyes glow, and he's instantly attracted to them. So yeah, I like that it sort of puts this idea of color and puts it on its head, and makes audiences think about, what does color mean to you, and how does that color affect how you speak to them and how you feel about them?
Wow, I'm not really sure that you can't write that letter to yourself. I'm not sure. You probably can do that. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Reggie. It's a pleasure meeting.
Hey, Jaden, it's Rhonda. as you continue acting, what do you expect now? Have what you hope to give and get out of this industry changed as a result of this role?
I just want to get better, honestly. I always think that there's more to learn. And I went into this role, I came out of this role learning a lot more than I did coming into it. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about the acting industry or about acting is just that ability to learn, not only research and learn, fundamentally, tangibly about, topics about football, about sports, but also about how to feel and how to think more deeply and how to enunciate yourself around people. But I've always thought it was important to tell important stories, even at a younger age, doing, more campy films like Vampires versus the Bronx. But I was drawn to that story because I thought it was important to tell a story about gentrification. I grew up in Harlem, and I've seen it happen to my grandmother, to the people around me in my community. I've seen it happen to me. And I was drawn to that role despite its campy characteristics, despite its sort of, over the top storyline. I was drawn to it because it had a serious and a serious topic, a conversation that audiences could talk about once they left the film. It had more substance than just what was on paper, but it had a conversation about gentrification, and that meant a lot to me. And there's loads of other scripts and projects that I've worked on that I've been drawn to because of that. And I think Colin definitely made that something concrete in me that I wanted to pursue. Especially as a young actor, as a young person, you get an opportunity and your first instinct is to take it, right? When is the next one gonna come? You never know. And it was definitely difficult turning down some roles because, I felt like maybe it wasn't the greatest opportunity for the kind of stories that I want to tell. But I think in the long run, it's made my purpose and my drive stronger because I'm not wasting energy on things that don't elevate me emotionally. And so, yeah, I think I just want to pursue that, tell stories for my people, tell stories to bring light to untold stories and to tell stuff that motivates me, that has a conversation once you leave the theater.
Well, you're off to a great start.
Yes, thank you. I mean, it's Ava DuVernay, what you gonna do,
Hi, Jaden, Mercedes again. And kind of on the heels of that, because you do have such a budding career, and this role, when it comes through, you're portraying a man who literally shook the world, and made people, there was a line in the sand, you had to pick a side, and made people, quite frankly, a little angry, some people. So with that all in mind, what made you choose this role? And was there any reluctancy to say, wait a minute, maybe, was there anybody in your camp that said, wait a minute, we might not want to do this?
I have an anecdote to sort of answer that question. I was at a very white social gathering. I was at a wedding, and no one who was invited to the wedding was of color. I was the only person of color invited to the wedding. And everyone there could care less that I was there. The show had came out like 2 weeks prior. I remember, ironically, everyone who was part of the catering team were people of color primarily. And so I was on the line getting my food, and a few of the caterers saw me and their eyes lit up and they started tapping each other on the shoulders. And one of them screamed, she's like, "Thank you, Colin." And I don't know, for me, that was like, oh, wow, that's, I've never been recognized in that way, especially so publicly. And people started looking around like, his name's not Colin. But, it's, yeah, I think in the very beginning, when I first reeled from the fact that, okay, I have to play Colin, I was a little scared. Somewhere deep down in me, there was this fear of, this is the beginning of your career, and are you going to start it with something so controversial? I started thinking about how people I know might react to it, people who I know who might not completely agree with Colin's politics, and how they might not, how their opinions of me might change. And the more I started thinking about that, I started realizing that that's the exact reason why we need to tell the story. If I feel uncomfortable to tell the experiences and situations which I felt myself, then what does that say about my society? What does that say about the people who I'm surrounding myself with in the first place? And if there are people in this world who can't come to terms with that truth, then they need to be educated. And this is an opportunity to educate them through this medium, through film. And if they can't be educated, then that's your problem.
Thank you, Jaden.
Thank you.
So one of the things I really love about your performance in this show is very nuanced. And a lot of the nuances come through, I think, in the scenes with the cast members who are your same age, those who play your friends. And you mentioned like the other baseball players you met in the lobby and the hotels. And I thought those scenes were really interesting. Before, you said you didn't know what you would write to yourself, your older self, because you don't think you have the experience to write a letter to your future self. But you also said you're still discovering who you want to be as a young man and as a professional, and wherever you want to take your education. Throughout the filming of this show, was there any moments where, while you were interacting, especially with the younger cast members, those who you could relate to on the same level, where you realize this is something that I really want to do, and like how you realize the gravity of the situation and the story being told for young people, not for older people who have to be educated, but for young people who have been in the same places and experiencing the same things that you were experiencing as you were filming?
I would sort of disagree with one part of the question, which is, people on your same wavelength. I think we're all unique and we all have our own interests, and those interests lend to different levels of understanding of different topics. So, I can be on the level on a certain interest with someone, double, triple my age. And that's merely because I'm interested in it, and I've educated myself and done research into that subject. So, and that's a very human thing. We all act differently around different people based off of our relationship with them. And especially as a biracial person or a person of color, because you have to be able to switch and accommodate to someone else's expectations or someone else's society and culture. And that was something that I wanted to represent in Colin's life, in the life of a biracial person and just a person of color. So there's this one scene, like I was saying, in the hotel when he meets all this entire group of baseball players who are Black. He zips up his jacket. I chose for Colin to zip up his jacket when he first meets them, and truthfully, he's hiding a part of himself. He's hiding that whiteness, that button-down shirt that's underneath, and he's hiding a part of himself in order to reveal an identity that he wants to pursue further, his Black identity. And so, yeah, to me, it was important to have that duality of these different waves of thought. You're not always the leader of the football team. You're also a teenager, you're also a kid, and you're also learning. And you have to be young enough and small enough to receive information. But yeah, when you're around your friends, you're a kid, and you expunge that experience amongst your friends, and whether that be vocally or unconsciously. So yeah, just having those two different sides. There's a lot of intricacies in the script, and I think that lets you have a lot of control over what does your character feel and choose in each individual moment.
Great answer. Thank you so much, and congrats on a successful show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to know, what was something that you feel you'll take away from this, not just in your future work, but in your life in general and playing this role?
I think I said, I spoke earlier about loving myself and loving my blackness. But I think on top of that, I would say, again, how it sort of reaffirmed that sense of telling important stories. I remember I was sort of at my wit's end as far as, especially with COVID and lockdown, as far as if I was even willing to continue an acting career, let alone it be, you know, theatrical or not. I think I was sort of just downtrodden from not rejection, not failure, but from rejection. And I started confusing the idea of being rejected and failure, and that led me to be more hard on myself than I already am. And I think with Ava's light and power and Colin's motivation, I think I've learned to separate the two, know when you failed and know when you've been rejected, and how that rejection can have little semblance on your true identity, on who you are. And it's definitely made me think clear about myself.
Very nice, very nice. It's some great answers. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Hello, Dana Abercrombie from the Coalition again. I was wondering, there are many similarities between the Colin and Jaden that you explained to us. I was wondering, as Jaden, if you could have a conversation, and we all know that Colin is a real person, but with the character itself, what do you think you both can learn from each other?
Like what I could tell him and what he could tell me, or what we could mutually agree upon.
You could tell each other what you can say and he could say.
I think I would tell young Colin, right? This is a convoluted question. I think I would tell young Colin to hang on in there. I think we would both tell each other to hang on in there. I feel like a lot of times, is it Einstein who says we say what we notice in others, what we miss in ourselves, or something along that line. I think we would both realize in each other that we get anxious for opportunity because we want to work hard and we want to prove to people that we can work hard. And I think we would both tell each other to hang on in there through the tribulations and hang on in there in the face of rejection.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jaden, Jill Monroe again. So you've mentioned Ava a couple of times and how she's poured into you throughout this project. And you also mentioned going to school and figuring out what aspects you want to take on potentially then. So have you also thought about maybe stepping behind the camera and producing or writing from the experience of working with Ava and throughout this?
Even before Ava, I've been obsessed with the film industry. My mom put me, for some background, my mom put me into modeling and acting when I was around 2-3 years old. Of course, at the time, I had no clue what I was doing. But I was in love with this movie called Imagine That with Eddie Murphy and Yara Shahidi. I love that movie. I used to watch that movie on repeat. And I don't know, it was something about seeing someone who looked like you on film for the first time that really struck me hard. I was 7, turning 8. And I was also shooting a role for a TV show. And I noticed that I truly wanted to experiment out of inspiration of Yara, to experiment with the character and all those grays and in-betweens that I was saying about a character, those colors. And that's when I truly fell in love with the film industry. My mom always used to ask me, she's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And yeah, you know, it was like, "Yeah, I'm on TV, let's go." But it wasn't until then that it clicked for me, and I said, "No, this takes a lot of effort. This takes time, and this is a passion that I want to pursue." And because of that, I just started watching films and you know, going to theaters and you know, I used to live in the projection room. I had a friend who was a projectionist, and I used to go see him all the time, watch whatever movie was playing. Probably shouldn't have seen half the stuff I was watching at that age, but it was a great springboard for me to experience art from. And so yeah, I've taken a few classes at NYU about storytelling and filmmaking. I've directed and written a few pieces with my friends and produced some stuff. And I'm currently working on my own script so I can direct that, a feature film. So yeah, I'm super excited about film. I'm just passionate about film and the medium as a whole. It has so much power over people. You can change someone's day and change someone's politics with a few motions of picture.
Amazing, thank you. I know you'll be very successful at it.
We'll see.
You're already a great storyteller just in how you're responding to these questions. So
thank you.
Reggie Ponder again, and I agree with Jill. You are a great storyteller. The answers to your questions are so thoughtful. I want to ask you. There's this thought about athletes should act. Athletes should play. Actors should act. Critics should write. You stay in your lane and you do what you do. You spoke just a few moments ago about even being a little bit apprehensive about taking this role because what it might mean for your career. What is your stance on people using their platform for activist reasons?
I think that is of utmost importance. If you have the ability to inspire change in a community by merely posting a picture online, you should use that platform. You should use that platform to create change and to create positive change just in general. And I'm really confused by this apprehension towards people who are professionals being able to express themselves beyond their professional capabilities. Because there are other professions where people are completely capable of doing that exact thing. For example, there's people like, there's this YouTuber called Mr. Beast, right? He makes millions of dollars every month. And he decided that with his platform of 100 million people, he was going to create the Save the Trees Foundation. Every time someone donated $1, he was going to plant a tree. He just started another foundation for Save the Ocean. And every time you donate $1, he gets rid of a pound of waste in the ocean. So why is it okay for someone who is a professional YouTuber to talk about to solve an issue in this landscape, but it's a problem for someone who's a professional in this landscape to try and solve an issue over here? Is it because the topic is of conflict with you? Is it because the conversation is hard to have? I think that's a better question to ask yourself. Is it truly an issue with the person needing to stay in their lane in order to focus on their profession, or is it that the conversation that they're trying to have is too difficult? I don't know. That's how I see it.
Wow. I it's probably too difficult, but I guess then I have to talk about that a little later. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hi, Jaden. We have talked many times. I'm Ruben Peralta. I'm from the Dominican Republic.
¿Cómo está, primo?
¿Cómo está, brother?
¿Todo bien?
I finished the black and white, and my only question for you is like, I don't know if they've asked you before because I just got here. I was in the middle of something. What is your biggest take from knowing things, from coding, and what things do you use to show us how really Colin is in his life, because we only knows one Colin. So what do you use from him that was the biggest tool at the moment that represent him on screen?
I think the media as a whole does a great job of idolizing people. You know, you see someone on TV, you see someone on Instagram, and you instantly are either drawn to the person or not. And if you're drawn to the person, then you start making these connections with them. And you start thinking that because you see what they post on Instagram and because you see what they do on TV, that you know the person. And that's human. That's not an issue. But what ends up happening is that, people like me, I idolized Colin, and I thought I knew everything that there was to know about Colin because I seen him play football in 2015 and 2014. I seen him get his Super Bowl or play in the Super Bowl, and I saw him kneel. So what more is there for me to know about this person? Because everything that there is to know, I've already seen. And I think really talking with Colin and talking about his past, talking about the information in between what we know about him, really opened my eyes to realize how much of a human he was. He wasn't an idol, he wasn't a deity, he was a human. And that human part of him, that humanism, is something that I realized was so important for me to incorporate in the show. I'm not playing Colin Kaepernick. I'm not playing the person who kneeled. I'm not playing the person who we recognize instantly today, but I'm playing the younger version. There's sprinklings of him in his person because it's those kindlings that build the fire that we know today. But it's truly, you're usually when you act, you want to work backwards. You want to think forwards about where your character goes. But for here, I wanted to work backwards because I'm not Colin. I'm anticipating to become Colin. And so yeah, that was the big thing that I took from Colin was being human, being not that idol, not that grandiose personality, but learning how to become that, learning how to have that voice and that courage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Jaden, I'm curious as to, prior to this experience as a artist who happens to be young, because you have nearly 20 years of experience, did you feel respected? Did people disrespect you because of your age, not looking at what your level of experience is?
I wouldn't even want to say that they disrespected me because I have so much respect for the people who have given me opportunities even before Ava. People like Todd Haynes and Jim Jarmusch. These are people who have given me an opportunity to tell my art, regardless of the fact that, I'm a young person. And I understand that there's certain stereotypes, or not stereotypes, but expectations of a young person. But yeah, there've been opportunities where, I'm a child. So what could you know? Well, why are you so intelligent? That's something I used to hear a lot. Why are you so smart? Why are you so thoughtful? And I don't know. I still don't know how to answer that question. I think deeply, but I don't know why that's a hindrance to the story that I can tell. So yeah, I've had to learn how to ask for what I want, how to push for more. I can't just expect the opportunity to come with the thoughts that I'm thinking. I can't just expect for them to give me the chance to tell the story how I want to tell it, but I have to beg for it, and I have to ask for it, and I have to be ahead of the game. Because I'm a person of color, and I have to have 2 feet ahead of everyone else in order to even be noticed. Even working on Colin, and one of my greatest experiences with the director was on the show. I was working with the final director, and I remember in the very beginning of the episode, it being really difficult to work with him, because he didn't trust me because I was young. It was clear. He didn't know how much trust he could put into me being able to play the character. And I'm someone who's very collaborative when it comes to my art. And so, I like to approach him and ask him, like, what do you want to see more of? What do you think needs more color? What do you want to see more of as a viewer? And I remember him sort of shutting down in the beginning, just not being interested in it. And I had to keep on chipping away at his pride and keep on asking him for his feedback, for his help. And it wasn't until the last couple of days of shooting that I was able to convince him to trust me enough to work with me, and give me that respect. And after that, it was, one of the greatest acting experiences of my life. He truly brought something out of me that I didn't even know existed sometimes. So I'm eternally grateful to him again. I'm eternally grateful to the side of me that he shed light upon, but it still took time to get that to come out,
Well, cool. I'm impressed with you because you're incredible. I don't think it's only because you're young. I think that you are a really, really incredible, brilliant artist.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Well, we're in agreement, Jaden, that you are definitely someone that we should all be looking out for. We're looking forward to continuing to support you as you continue your growth in front of or behind the camera. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, thank you for joining us today. And thank you for watching Africa Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this. There was a lot of really great questions I haven't been asked yet. And I've been doing this press tour for like 2 months, so it was great.
Well, Joanna and Mal know how to save the best for last, so we're glad we were able to get you.